Welcome, YouTube friends and family, to part 2 of Gifts from the Kitchen. So if you haven't seen part 1, I'll be sure and drop the link to the playlist down below. But I'm actually filming these back to back today because it's super cold and snowy. I actually have a day at home, so you may notice that all of the jars from part 1 are still sitting there. So anytime you can, you do want to leave your jars undisturbed for 12 to 24 hours. Then you want to remove your band, wash the jars in warm soapy water with a little vinegar. That helps remove any hard water deposits that have accumulated on the jar. I find that the quilted part of the jar, if you're using a quilted jar, it seems to really settle on that. So when I'm using quilted jars, I'm putting a little bit of extra vinegar in the water. So what are we making today? Y'all, I have been so excited ever since I came up with this. So all 3 of these are USDA approved canning recipes. However, if you are not a canner, you can still make these recipes and refrigerate them. So what are we going to make? Stay tuned to find out. All right, so recipe number 1 that we're going to start with, and it sounds really gross, but trust me, it's not, is caramel apple coffee jam. So one of you all dropped a comment and said, have you ever made coffee jam? And I'm like, how did I not know of this? I'm a huge fan of coffee, y'all. I never met a kind of coffee I did not like, and that is the honest truth. I do limit myself though, everything in moderation. So that's the first one. And let me say this is a Ball trademarked recipe that came from their fresh home preserving website, which is down. So I found it on boxwoodavenue.com. I will leave the link. I've started a list of links to leave. And also, y'all, I will be leaving links to everything as we progress through. I'm going to reuse the details, so to speak. So if you're watching a later video and you're like, hey, I forgot to look and see where this came from or how much this is, all the links will be in there to my Amazon affiliate store. All right, what else are we going to make? So this is sort of our fruit day, y'all. Fruit and sweet, because holidays are all about the sweetness. So if you have the Ball Home Preserving book, and mine is kind of old, I've had it for a while, I don't know what year. It is on page 200. We are going to make spiced honey. Spiced honey, guys. Yum, yum. And, wait for it, honey orange slices. Y'all, I think these gifts from your kitchen are very unique, but I think it's also something people will like. Now, if they don't like coffee, I wouldn't recommend the jam. So let's get started today. I'm gonna begin here by putting on an apron my beloved daddy got me, and it says over 40 and still cooking. So, been thinking a lot about my dad. You know, the holidays they're just not the same without my daddy, but you know what? He's having his holidays with Jesus, and that's a good thing. My dad will be gone 12 years as of December 4th, so, you know, he was in a coma and, you know, then passed away, and then the funeral through that holiday season. So it was a rough year, but he was a wonderful man. All right, the second thing I'm gonna do, y'all, because I was worried I'm gonna get hair in something, and I know you all have seen Frankie on the counter. I can't control him, y'all. Not just Frankie. I disinfect everything with thieves, so I feel very confident about the quality and purity of my food. All right, you ready to get started on this? So, step 1, I'm gonna, oh, y'all, I need a new ring light. Oh, you're still slipping. My hands are not cooperating today either, so hold on, wait for it. Okay, y'all be still now. So what I have here is a Victorio apple peeler. Y'all, if you don't have one of these are amazing. And recently, because I've been at the Goodwill a couple times. I have seen these at the Goodwill and people are donating them. Snap it up. I will leave a link in the description box to this device. So some people say, oh, they're so hard to use, I can peel an apple faster. Well, I can't. And they're super simple to use. So what we are looking for here is 5 cups of peeled and diced apples. So this does have the little suction cup thing that you can put down. Y'all, I'm here to tell you, it does not hold well for me. So I usually end up just holding it like this. So what you want to do, of course, is wash your apples. And you may wonder what kind of apple I'm using. Well, I'm kind of wondering too. So these came from Piper's Orchard. And it's a local type apple, and I can't remember the variety, but it is a good cooking apple. So, and it's pretty tart. All you do is just crank it like this. And you want to crank it all the way out to the end. I'm going to give the girls the apple peels. They are not happy today, y'all. It is cold and snowing. And then you can just pull it off. And what you'll have left here is your core. Just be careful, guys, because these spikes can be kind of sharp. I'm on the struggle bus. Now, I don't want the peel in here, so I'm going to pull that off. I don't think you want peel in your jelly. So you may have to clean up the ends. And if you didn't get it centered on the Victorio apple peeler, sometimes you will have a bit of core left. So just take that into account. So yeah, this has a little bit of a smooshy on it, a bad spot. So just cut away any bad spots. And let me show you what this peeler does. It makes like, isn't that cool? Like a string of apples. So again, I'm just going to clean up. Let me just clean up a couple spots here. And I'll show you how I'm going to cut them. And then I'm going to continue cutting because you've all seen apple peeling and cutting before. So I don't want them, you know, too large. So in each slice, I'm going to cut in 8s. I'll show you here in just a second. And these apples have a very soft texture, so they're also good for saucing. I think you can use whatever kind of apple you prefer. I was watching a channel, and y'all, I'll find out the name of it, and then I'll let you know here in a minute. Where she actually made this is where I got the idea. It wasn't her recipe, of course, it's a ball recipe, but she was saying that she was using Honey Crisp, so you can use eating apples as well. So here's what our apples look like. We're looking for 5 cups, which is about up to here, so I've got some work to do. So let me get busy, and I'll bring you back, and we'll get to making some very interesting caramel apple coffee jam. Stay tuned. All right, we have our 5 cups of apples, very quickly peeled and diced into even sizes. But we are going to be blending this or stick blending this, sort of pureeing it. So I'm only cutting in even slices so that it cooks evenly. Now what are we gonna do? Y'all, we're gonna brew some coffee. Pardon me. And it calls for 2 cups of extra strong brewed coffee. So over here, and I will leave a link, I have my Jura Ina 8, best investment ever. Y'all, it makes everything from espresso to the fufu macchiato drinks that I don't drink. But I can if I decide I want to. So I am just going to well, let me just explain a little bit. In the back here is the bean hopper, so I can use fresh beans. And here is the water tank. I do use my filtered water, and I already have it preset for strong coffee because is there any other kind of coffee? I think not. And it's brewing a 5-ounce cup because, like I said, I like it strong. So we're going to need 2 cups. So it's going to take several rounds here. And if you're not a huge fan of coffee, or you don't like strong coffee, I would say don't make it so strong. And also, you could use flavored coffee. Now, I'm going to confess something. I'm not a fan of flavored coffee beans. Every great once in a while, it's okay, but it's just not my jam. So you could use a caramel coffee bean, but I don't have that. So we're just going to use regular. So as you see, this just does the work for you, but it really does produce a superior tasting cup of coffee because you're using freshly ground beans, in my opinion. And I do use extra purified water. Okay, so let's keep going. And you all have seen coffee be made before. So let me get 2 cups and I'll take you over to the stove. Stay tuned. We have our jars washed, warming in our Presto Precise electric digital canner that you can use as a pressure canner or water bath canner. So let's go back to the directions here. It says prepare canner, do your jars, yada. Done that. Bring apples and coffee to a boil. So let's add our coffee. And in full disclosure, y'all, because I needed 2 cups, I did 3 cups of regular strong coffee, and I might have put an espresso in there. This is going to be some good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat to high to get started. My apples started to get a little bit brown, but you know what, y'all? Doesn't matter because they're definitely going to be brown when we get done making this. So what we're going to do is bring them up to a boil. Then we're going to turn them to a simmer and simmer about 10 minutes or until they're soft. So depending on the type of apple, like a crisp eating apple may take a little bit longer. A baking or sauce type apple may take a little less. I'm going to let it go for 10 minutes, even if the apples are soft, because we're going to use an immersion blender to blend that all up and make it, fairly smooth so that it doesn't have big chunks of apples in it. If you don't have an immersion blender, you could use a regular blender. You could probably also use a food processor. Just be very careful because this is going to be hot. So since I watch pot never boils, I'm going to pause you here. I will bring you back once we have our apples nice and tender and talk about next steps. Stay tuned. Y'all, our apple coffee mixture is completely soft now. No problem there. So what we're going to do is we are going to hit it with the immersion blender. And what you're looking for is like an applesauce consistency. You don't want the chunks and pieces. Or if you want them, you can have chunks and pieces. Just be really careful as you're blending because this is super hot and you don't want to flip some on yourself and get burnt. All right, we are nice and soft. I'm going to turn that heat down just a minute and we'll go over the next directions. So it says return it to heat and whisk in pectin and allspice. Now, y'all, I'm just going to tell you, I don't like nutmeg, so I don't like allspice. So what I did was put 1/2 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon from Azure and a tiny sprinkle, less than 1/8 of a teaspoon of cloves, and I think that will be just fine. So we also have our 4 tablespoons of the Ball Classic Pectin. So we're going to whisk that in. Get all of that goodness in there. and it says over high heat. Guys, I do have a couple pieces of apples, but I think that'll be just fine. Over high heat, so I'm going to turn it up. Bring it to a full boil that cannot be stirred down. The next thing we're going to be adding, once we get to our full boil that can't be stirred down, is 2 cups of packed brown sugar. So we're at a boil, but I can still stir it down. And it does have a tendency to pop and flip. Okay, guys, I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. That is a full rolling boil that can't be stirred down. Let's go ahead and measure in our 2 cups of packed brown sugar. And I apologize if you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm sure you all know how to measure and dump in some brown sugar. You got to work quickly at this point. All right. You want to go ahead and continue to stir, and you're going to return the jam to a full rolling boil and boil hard for 1 minute, stirring constantly. So that sugar dissolved like right now. And as always, when you're working with hot jams and jellies or anything hot sugar, you want to be really careful, y'all. Be really careful. I almost think, well, you're not supposed to do this, but I'm going to. I think I'm going to hit it with a stick blender again. See if I can get those few pieces I missed. That looks much better. And I don't think it hurt it. And y'all, that's it to making jelly. I think jelly and jam making, and I would call this a jam because it does have like a thickish consistency, and I can feel it getting thicker already. Very, very simple to make. You just need to follow your directions step by step. I printed them out. I'm keeping them right here beside me. And we're sort of at a boil here. All right, I'm going to call that a boil. We'll set our timer for 1 minute, and I'll bring you back. Now, sometimes on the top, you will get some foam or a skin type situation. Normally, that doesn't bother me, and I don't remove it. But since this is for gifting, and there was very little, I've skimmed off what I have. And I am going to ladle this into my jars. And I'm going to leave a 1/4 inch headspace. And you do want to make sure, because this is quite sticky and quite sugary, that you clean that rim really, really well. Any residual sugar, jam, whatever you want to call it, is going to impede you getting a good seal. Ooh, that is hot, guys. Hotsy, hotsy. And you know what? I did not debubble that. It's probably best if you do debubble, so we'll debubble this one. I'm not terribly worried because it's so liquid. But sometimes you can get surprised where you have air pockets. And the reason I'm working so quickly is because this is wanting to set up quickly, and sometimes you will get too much like that, in which case you just want to take some out. Cleaning that rim really, really well. Y'all, I canned something the other day that I didn't video, and I actually had a seal failure, and it was my lack of rim cleaning. All right, into the canner we go. I'll bring you back and let you know how many we got. We're over here at the canner, and as I shared, I don't find the bulk quantity amounts to be super exact. I would have ended up with 5 half pints. I did 4 half pints and 2 tasting jars, which are the 4-ounce jars. So I'm going to close the canner I'm going to hit the enter key and it will start to boil. Once it's reached the boiling temperature, it will start counting down the 15 minutes. Now, let me just share with you. I am at 1,009 feet, and so I'm actually over the 1,000 feet. So I go ahead and do the additional 5 minutes. The recipe calls for 10 minutes. So we'll let this rock and roll. Let me show you. Y'all, I haven't tasted it. Look at this beautiful jam. I used every drop of it. So let's give it a taste and I'll let you know what I think. Wow. I get caramel coffee, not so much the apple, which is what Thrifty Chic Housewife is the name of the channel. That's what she said. Guys, it is not at all too sweet. The apples are just perfect apples. So it's got sort of that sour bite, but a little sweet and lots of coffee, caramelly flavor. So very, very good. I'm gonna get readying up the kitchen here. We'll get on to our next gift from our kitchen very soon. Stay tuned. Ready for the last two recipes? Of course, they'll be prepared separately, but I am going to can them together because they both make a very small quantity. So what I am going to be using for both recipes, which I'll talk about in just a moment, are these Kym 8-ounce jars. Now, I know they look really short, but these are perfect for products that you're going to scoop out, or really thick products. So what are we going to make? Well, again, we are going to be using the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. And if you have that book, it's on page 163. We are first going to make honey orange slices, and I'm going to call them spice honey orange slices. And I'll talk throughout the video of how you might use these. And the second item is on page 200, right below that praline syrup we made in video 1. And this is for spiced honey. So honey is a great thing to consume if you consume local raw honey. There is medical research that indicates it may help you with seasonal allergies related to your specific area. So the honey I'm going to be using today is not local honey. Let me just share that. But this is going to be a wintertime treat, so it's less of a concern, right? So over here in my Presto Precise Digital Electric Pressure / Water Bath Canner, that is a mouthful, I'm going to go ahead and put enough jars in for both recipes. Now, each recipe indicates that it makes 3 8-ounce jars. And as I've said, I find Ball to be highly inaccurate. So what I'm actually going to do is I am going to put in an extra jar for each batch. And you know, I should follow the directions. You're supposed to fill the jars with water, not dip it out. So let's make sure, first of all, these wide mouths, I might not be able to get all 8 in. Let's see. Y'all scooch up. Be kind to one another. Okay. Can we get a tasting jar in there? Okay, so I was able to get 7 of the Kym wide mouths in 1 of the 4-ounce regular mouth tasting jar jars. Y'all, I'm getting tired. I'm getting a little bit slap happy because I've actually done part 1 and part 2 on the same day. So y'all excuse me, I'll try to gather it up here. So one of the things that we have to do is we have to spend some time making these recipes. So I am not going to start warming the jars yet. Both of them will process for 10 minutes if you're at 1,000 feet or below, 15 above 1,000 feet, etc., etc. I'm 1,009 feet, so I'm going to do 15 minutes. So let me reposition here. I'm going to show you how we're going to make our delicious honey orange slices. Try to speak up over the running water. So if y'all have never had candied orange or lemon peel, it is absolutely delicious when homemade. I never cared for it in the stores, but I really like homemade. So because we are going to be basically candying these oranges in honey, including the peel, you want to make sure that your oranges are really good and clean. And y'all, I can't say enough good about the Thieves Fruit and Veggie Soak. In all of my videos, I leave a link in the description box to Young Living. And let me just say this, y'all. Never feel obligated to purchase or sign up for anything that I share with you. I share what I find beneficial. If you find it beneficial and want to take advantage, please do. I am a seller, if you will, of Young Living. You can sign up with your initial order and you will receive, and let me say it's a prescribed order, you will receive 24% off of all your orders for an entire year. So even if you're not interested in selling Young Living, it's a great discount opportunity, y'all. Okay, so Thieves say pour 1 ounce or 2 tablespoons for every gallon of water. We probably, here's 1 and 2. We probably will have a gallon of water here in the sink. Oh, my hands are wet, guys. They're not sticky though. And I need to get a drier dish towel. I've washed so many dishes today. So what I like to do, and this has the 5 essential oils that are in Thieves, is I just like to let them hang out for a little bit and then I will rinse them very well. And we are going to be cutting the ends off of our oranges. We're going to slice them lengthwise and then into slices. So one of the reasons I wanted to use the wider mouth jar is it's a little more conducive to getting an orange slice out. If you have the bigger jar, you're not trying to fish it out of a narrow mouth jar. So let me get a dry dish towel, finish rinsing our oranges. I'll show you how I've cut them. We'll get them on the stove and started simmering. I'm going to be using my enamel coated cast iron. I'm not sure how big this is, but big pan, because we want lots of surface area for those oranges to cook. So just to show you one, because I'm sure y'all know how to cut oranges, what you want to do is cut off the ends. And by the way, it's 2.5 pounds of oranges if you don't have the book. And I'm gonna cut a little further to get rid of some of that pith till I can at least see orange. So what you don't want is just a whole slice like this. You want your slices to at least have some of the actual orange in it. So there you go. So I'm gonna cut it in half lengthwise. And these look to be seedless. And then I'm going to do my best to slice them into some pretty uniform slices. You do not want these super thick. And I'm gonna guess it might be easier if might be easier if I turn it over, I'm not sure. So, very simple. You just don't want it thick because it will take, or you at least want them uniform. It will take longer for that orange rind to become, wow, this smells amazing, tender if your slices are uneven. Now, you know, I'm not perfect on my knife skills, but pretty close here. And this one is definitely too thick. Not sure if I can cut that in two. Let's try it from the side, carefully. All right, that will work. So I'm gonna continue cutting and I'm going to place them into my pan. Then I'll run water till they're covered, bring you back at that time. Just a little frugality tip. Don't throw away those orange ends that we cut off. Go ahead and put those in some white vinegar in a pretty jar or bottle, set it up in your cabinet, let it steep, and that orange oil and vinegar makes an amazing cleaner that's also a good gift for someone who doesn't like to use a lot of cleaning chemicals. So I have our oranges now on the stove, and while those are cooking, we are going to prepare a spice bag that we'll be using later in this recipe. So I'm going to tip you down here. What I have are 3 Ceylon cinnamon sticks I got from Azure, a teaspoon and a half of whole allspice, and a teaspoon and a half of whole cloves. You do want to break up your cinnamon stick, and these are nice and fresh. Oh my word, y'all, they smell so good. And we're gonna make a little spice bag out of it. And so I just have some plain cheesecloth. And y'all, I did not realize this, but Azure carries unbleached cheesecloth. So I have some on order for a December delivery. So I'm excited about that. Less chemicals, right? Okay. So what you want to do is you want to tie this up securely so it's not going to leach out into your water. Won't hurt anything, I guess, if it does, but you'd have to strain that out. Nobody wants to eat a whole clove. And we're just going to set that aside for later. So just to give you a heads up on the directions here, we're going to boil those for 15 minutes until the peel becomes tender. We're going to drain them. We're going to set them aside. Then in that pan, we're going to combine some sugar, honey, and lemon juice. We're going to put our spice bag in. We're going to bring that to a boil with the oranges and the reserve spice bag in the liquid. And then we have to cook them for about 40 minutes until they are well glazed. So this is going to take a little bit longer. I'm going to clean up the kitchen for the 11th time today. I don't know, 5 recipes in one day sounded like a good idea, but now I'm like, oh my word. So I'm going to go rest my back while our oranges come to a boil, and then I will bring you back and show you the glaze process and talk about the ingredients. Oranges have finished cooking for 15 minutes. I have them draining in the sink, and in the same pan, I am going to place, wait for it, 1.25 cups of granulated sugar. Where is my spatula? There we go. 1.25 cups of honey. So this is raw honey that I purchased from Aldi. I like their honey. I find it to be quite tasty. And 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Y'all, I actually pre-measured and kind of forgot the amounts. So we are going to stir this all together. This pan is actually still pretty hot. And we're going to bring this up to a boil, and it says over medium-high heat. So I'm going to do 8 of 10. So we want this to come to a boil so our sugar will actually dissolve. And then once it has dissolved and we've come to a boil, we're going to add in that little spice bag that we made earlier and our oranges. And then we are going to cook it. It says reduce heat and boil gently. I'm going to call it a simmer, not a boil. So I'm probably going to put it on about a medium heat. And we're going to simmer them for about 40 minutes. It says until the oranges are well glazed. Now you might be wondering, what on earth are you going to use these oranges for? If you are a tea lover, can you imagine a little of this honey with an orange slice in your hot tea? For gift giving in your gift basket, you could put like a honey dipper. Pardon me, you could put some tea, some orange spice tea, some loose tea in a tea ball, a pretty mug. I mean, the gift possibilities are kind of endless. So you have to know your person, I think, when you're making gift baskets. I mean, people may like the food portion of it, but I never want to give someone something that they're like, oh, great, thanks. I want them to lack and enjoy it for sure. So this is turning into be kind of a long day for me. I was up very, very early to start filming, and you know, y'all, it takes a little minute to get everything together. And I was watching one of Homestead Tessie's videos the other day, and I just wanted to say something while we, oh, pardon my hand, while we wait for this to come to a boil. She said something that really, really struck me, and I thought, you know, that is a very smart comment, and that was, comments are very important to YouTubers. So y'all, I don't get a ton of negative comments. I get some. You know, there's always, you're always going to get that. That's just part of being a YouTuber. And, you know, this is about to come to a boil. And, you know, you just have to put on your big girl pants and deal with it, right? You can't let it get to you. Although sometimes I admit it has. And sometimes it hurts my feelings. But, you know, the comments that you do leave, and y'all are so good about it. I feel like I know you, even though I've not met you. They're so encouraging, because being a YouTuber can be a lonely place. You know, if you're doing all your videos by yourself, and I am a one-woman show, obviously. And, I apologize, guys. I had the timer set for something else. Oops. Operator error. Oh my word. Okay. I guess it turns itself off. But it is nice to get sincere feedback. Even if it's a request for something. You all are pretty good about that. If I failed to leave a link or whatever, you'll remind me. And I do appreciate each and every one of you and all of your comments. Okay. We are now, let me pull you over here. I just unplugged something. Okay. We're now at a lat boil. So I am going to go ahead, y'all. I'm going to drop in our spice bag, and I'm going to put in our oranges. So here we go. And these are still very hot, so this is not going to drop the temperature too much. Another thing I was going to say, Kym Frugal Pants, the water that you drain off the oranges, y'all don't just throw that away. It makes really good water for hot tea. Even for iced tea, it would make really good water. So highly recommend you save that, recycle that. So if you recycle the peels that you didn't use, and we're using the whole orange, you know, we're getting the biggest bang for our buck. Okay, y'all, this is too hot. So let me turn this down to about a medium. I'm going to set my timer for 40 minutes. We're going to let them kind of glaze. You do want to stir it occasionally. It will reduce somewhat, and it'll start to be like almost a syrupy consistency. I'll bring you back. We still have almost 30 minutes on our orange slices, but since we're going to do our orange spiced honey, or orange slices and honey, and our spiced honey in the same canner, and it takes about 20 minutes to preheat the jars. I have started preheating my jars because we are going to go ahead and start making our spiced honey. So let me read the ingredients quickly to you. It's so simple. 1 lemon with the end pieces removed, cut into 6 slices, 12 whole cloves, 3 cinnamon sticks, and 2 2/3 cup of honey. So I did want to show you, if y'all are Aldi shoppers, this is the 24-ounce honey. That was 1.25 cups. So I don't even think these two are going to do it. I do have yet another jar. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to wash our lemon. I forgot to do that. Let me rinse this off right quick. All right. And we are going to cut off the ends of our lemon. fuzzy here. Hang on. All right. And again, you want to cut until you actually see the lemon. And you can throw those lemon slices right in your cleaner. Let me see, y'all. You know what? I'll get my cleaner down and show you a little bit later in the video to show you how easy it is to make your own cleaner. Y'all, save all this citrus. Now, I need to cut this lemon into 6 slices. I do have a backup lemon in case. So, if that's halfway, okay. You would think this would be super simple. I just want them to be fairly even. Okay, this last one is a little thick, so I am going to trim it down. Maybe. All right, and we'll put that in our cleaner as well. So what you want to do is I have here some whole cloves. I just put them in a little cup. And you want to stud each lemon with 2 whole cloves. So the easiest way to do this, y'all, I know I've learned this through experience, is to make a little pocket in the peel. If you just try to slide the clove, even though it has a pointed end, if you just try to slide it in, they just break. And sometimes you have to make like an X. And that is such an important part of the flavor. You definitely want that clove studded in there. So some of you may be watching and thinking, oh my word, why are you going to all this trouble? Why don't you just go to the store and buy a gift, or buy, you know, food gifts if that's what you're wanting to get? And let me just share something with you. My son loves, he calls it weird food. I'm just going to say unusual. You're kidding me. All right, y'all, I just did a beautiful segment for you. And guess what? I didn't push record. As the day goes on, I deteriorate. Y'all, just a quick one. This was 1 1/4 cup of honey out of the 24-ounce jar that comes from Aldi. So I have 2 more jars. So I'm going to get measuring. Y'all, a little tip for you. If you are using the 24-ounce, 1 pound 8-ounce bottles from Aldi, you'll have just enough left in the 1 bottle with another full bottle. I did microwave it, probably not the smartest thing, for about 20 seconds just to liquefy it to help me get every bit out, but it came out perfectly. While we're waiting for our honey to heat, I thought I would share with you my homemade orange cleaner. All you need to do is pop, you can't see anything, your slices. Now, if you see some discoloration on the jar, that's from the oranges. Top it off with some vinegar. Put a nice fitting lid on it. Squirt it everywhere. Y'all, I could always tell when I'm getting tired because things start to go sideways. But anyway, that will make use of every bit of your oranges and lemons. And it's also something that you can gift. I just wanted to show you all what the honey, lemon, cinnamon stick mixture looks like. And as you see, as soon as it starts to boil, and I actually have the burner off, it rises greatly in the pan, so make sure your pan is large enough to accommodate. Thankfully, mine was. All right, I'm gonna get jars out. Our oranges are done as well, so I'm going to turn those off and just let those hang out till we're ready to jar those up. We have our 3 8-ounce wide mouth jars here, and we're gonna start by placing 2 lemon slices in each of the jars. Y'all, I have a feeling this is going to be 2 canner loads, just judging by volume of those oranges, but we'll see. We want to place 1 cinnamon stick, and I am praying they fit in. Ooh, they do. How about that? I should have checked that. So there's a suggestion for you all. Make sure your cinnamon stick fits. It would probably be better to break them in two. In fact, y'all, I think what I'm going to do right quick is grab a cutting board and a knife. And quickly cut those in two. Y'all, my apologies. I didn't realize my memory was full. So I did go ahead and place both the spiced honey and the orange slices into jars. And I did have 2 additional jars that wouldn't fit in the canner. Like I said, y'all, it never seems to come out the way the ball book says as far as quantity. But let me tell you, that spiced honey is totally amazing. So what you want to do is in each of your 3 jars is place 2 of the lemon slices, we had 6, and 1 of the cinnamon sticks. Now, I ran into a problem that mine were a bit too long, so you may want to break those in half before you start any of the canning and cooking process. I then ladled over the honey to a 1/4-inch headspace, clean the rims, put the jars in the canner. With the orange slices, they were beautifully glazed. And let me show y'all, I had a little that won't fit in the canner. Look at this. Both of them, I might have tasted them, are amazing. But the spiced honey is absolutely the bomb. That and a cup of tea is gonna make anybody's day. These are great, great gifts from your kitchen, y'all. So I also did 1/4-inch headspace on the orange honey slices. And I got 4 half pints plus a tasting jar plus this little bit. So it was close to 5, not 3. So I also want to share with you, I had my first ever error message on the canner. So let me flip you over here. So the instruction sheet, which I have back here, says nothing about, where did I put it? This little regulator. Ow, it's hot. The little regulator knob that goes here when you're pressure canning. It doesn't say remove it, anything. There are 2 error messages, E10 and E30. E10 means you left it on during the warming phase of the jars. E30 means you left it on during the cooking phase. Okay, guys, this is like my 4th canner load today. Haven't gotten any error messages. So what I've had to do is cancel it out because I had the error and actually start over. So I'm going to process these 2. I will bring you back for final thoughts. And I apologize that my memory was full. I think this memory is full too. I finally have the last jars in the canner. And yes, you might notice a wardrobe change. I have on a pair of vintage pajamas. Look at the beautiful detail. And one of my vintage robes because I'm tired, y'all. 10 hours I've been filming today. Let me show you what we've managed to accomplish. So this is our beautiful spiced honey oranges. Y'all, so gorgeous. And what a lovely treat. My favorite, let's see, let me pull this one, is our spiced honey. And you can see the lemon slices in there. Y'all, that's some tasty stuff. So today we managed to get the equivalent of 5 pints of caramel apple coffee jam, which I can't wait to try. I think it would be great in a gift basket with a loaf of crusty bread or some crusty rolls. We have 3, 4 and a half pints of our spiced oranges and 3 half pints and a partial jar of our spiced honey. So as you see here, I have all of the canning from part 1 and part 2. You might notice there is some white residue. I did have one canner load that seemed, I must not have put quite as much vinegar in it. So adding vinegar to your water will kind of help that. We'll be washing those jars tomorrow. I hope you've enjoyed the last 2 videos, that it's given you some ideas about gifts you might make from your kitchen. Now, I promised you a part 3 and 4 and maybe 5. I am going to wait till a little bit closer to Christmas so that for my personal gift giving, I'm not making candies, cookies, etc. so far ahead of time that they're not fresh for giving. So there may be a gap before we have parts 3 and 4. I really appreciate your time these past couple of days. If you'd greatly do me a favor and smash that like button, go ahead and share my video. Give some of your friends and family ideas about what you might like to have for this holiday season. Until I see you again, be healthy, be well, be blessed, take care.